All right, guys, I'm live again. If you were just watching, I have to re-record this. There was a glitch in saving it for later viewing, but there was an issue where what I'm about to go live on is something that just happened in North Dakota with my colleague Tammy Clark. She's fine. I just want to explain to you the absolute insane story that she just well, it's not a story that she's telling me. I watched the live stream where she was talking to county commissioners in Olive Oliver County, North Dakota. So I'm first going to go to my Facebook and see if it's showing, and then I can share it. So just bear with me. I think we're good. Let's see. Mhm. I don't know why it's not there it is. Okay. All right. Sorry. All right. So I did a live and there was a glitching issue and it wasn't showing on my Facebook. So if I'm going to tell my colleague to click on my profile picture. Okay. Sorry for all the B-roll. Here we go. If you already watched this, well, you're going to hear it again. Maybe I'll try to be a little bit more professional this time. Said no one ever. All right. So if you're new to following me, I'm streaming this on X, Facebook, and X, Facebook, and YouTube, excuse me. So I'm a 24-year senior industrial hygienist and environmental specialist, and I spent 9 years on active duty doing my job in a field called bioenvironmental engineering. I've done my job throughout healthcare, an electrical utility, every industry, a consultant, court credential expert on different issues. And my colleague, Tammy Clark, is someone that I fought a lot of the madness during the 4 years to slow the spread because they were pushing improper mandates on America. And many people in our profession abandon the science. So that was a fight that we were in together. And very strangely, there's still some portion of that fight we're still fighting. I know that's insane, but yes, there's still mask mandates. So we proved our credibility then because we were right. All we needed was engineering controls. So now our latest fight is in the whole solar, battery, and data center rollout. And one thing I want to talk about is data centers. We've had them for years. I understand. We're talking about hyperscale AI data centers. Okay. I'm going to start talking a little bit faster. So Tammy flew to North Dakota. By the way, she had just been on the road. We were just in Kansas together. We've been dealing with this fight together and working on a resource guide for people. Have some grace with us with that. It's taking a while. We're trying to if you all the resources and studies. So if you deal like the people I'm about to talk to you about, you'll have stuff ready on how to stand up against the seeding of these hyperscale data centers. So Tammy went to North Dakota. She lives in Michigan, but her husband is also in Florida on a contract. So she was in Florida after being away to spend time with her husband, and she was asked if she could go to North Dakota to support a man that we both support and adore, Representative Jeff Hoverson. But also while she's there, if she could talk about data centers. So I couldn't go because I have a scheduling conflict, but it's very rare that we travel without one another. But let me tell you what happened. I found a live stream because I wanted to see what was said. And my understanding at looking at the agenda, this is in Oliver County, North Dakota. My understanding in looking at the agenda is that they were going to talk about the data center issue, even though it's kind of nothing you can do about it at this point. People still need to be put on notice about how they should have handled it and what they could still do. They brought in an expert from Canada, and all these people work with the developers. Like there's a conflict of interest there. Meanwhile, Tammy doesn't have a fee to be there, and she's actually losing money being there. We do that all the time. We wish there was more like us, but hey, we've got Stephen Petty, our colleague out there, also fighting this, and he's the goat of our profession. So after hours of sitting there, she finally had an opportunity to go and talk. And it didn't even take but 10 seconds before she starts talking that you can see this commissioner, his name is Bradley Dahl, Dahl, Bradley Dahl. Oh, he definitely can go hump a giant wasabi lace cactus. He was very condescending to my colleague. He tried to act like he knew more than she did. And that's what happens when these developers act like narcissists who love bomb the people that they need to pass things. And this lovely gem is the one that voted and overturned the 180-day moratorium on this, which would put a pause to actually discuss what's happening with these data centers. So you have to ask yourself, why does someone go out of their way to fight on behalf of anyone but the people that they're supposed to represent? Well, allegedly, possibly, Not firmly or factually, I'm saying there could be backdoor deals there. There could be kickbacks there. Something is going on to where this man, Bradley Dahl, thinks that he knows more than my work colleague who's actually looked at different types of data centers more than he's ever even Googled or looked at or touched in person. Okay. So she started out by talking that she's not anti AI, she's not anti technology. And what she did was she went over the human and environmental impacts, or so she thought she would be doing. So she starts talking about the big issue, which is tonal noise, because she was listening to people talk before her. They were talking about um, wind turbines and different towers, which makes me think of wind, which has to do with what I'm about to say. She brought up tonal noise and how they're already, this is what they say. It's only 55 dBA, which stands for decibels a weighted average. That's how you measure audible noise. It's only 55 at the fence line, or all these people talk about setbacks and how the noise is an issue. It's just annoying, blah, blah, blah. Well, here's the thing. Tonal noise is noise that you feel. Just like a dog whistle is high frequency, you don't hear it like an animal would, a dog would. But tonal noise is low frequency. Just like light, there's a spectrum of sound, and tonal noise, infrasound, not infrared, sorry, infrasound is tonal noise, low frequency noise. And how is this created? So she couldn't even get into these details because she kept getting cut off by Commissioner Dahl, who, by the way, wasn't elected, he was appointed. And I'm not saying that that makes him less than, but I'm just saying nobody voted his ass in. So when it is time to vote again, somebody needs to step in there, preferably somebody who's younger and engaged. I'm not saying that to be like discriminatory of the older gentlemen on the commission, but we need more younger people who are being handed down businesses and farms and small businesses that are impacted by these decisions. Get active and engaged in your community. Well, Commissioner Dahl just sat there shaking his head at everything that Tammy Clark was saying. She was trying to talk about the tonal noise and the biological impacts that has neurological impacts, cardiovascular impacts, reproductive impacts. What do I mean by that? When we're talking about livestock and humans, an expectant mother can have an increased heart rate and an increased fetal heart rate. That can cause early term labor. It can cause low birth weight. That's why tonal noise and vibration, we did studies when I was in the Air Force about vibration and tonal noise involving expectant mothers, because I was stationed at a fighter wing and a huge amount of tonal noise had happened in just the vibration alone. So Tammy knew what she was talking about. And he wanted to argue with her about how it wasn't loud when he went to one. Well, dude, did you fucking listen? She said it's noise that you feel, not that you hear. This is how they gaslight you and lie to you, okay? We are talking about dairy farmers and ranchers dealing with improper output of their industries, whether you're selling beef or dairy. Tonal noise does the same thing to cows, meaning it can impede their mating cycles. It can cause stress. I talked to a large animal veterinarian when I was in Kansas who told me that when they notice that there's lower milk production in the dairy cows, they start looking at some medical issues that could be going on. And one thing they check is stress from elevated cortisol. So now we know that cortisol can lower milk. Elevated cortisol can lower milk production. Same thing with humans. So these are not negligible human and environmental impacts. Tonal noise, by the way, if I hold up a phone and I cover the speaker, it can lessen the noise. Tonal noise goes right through so many different types of foundations, cement, metal. And I always, when I explain this to my daughter, I talk about Sonic the Hedgehog. You know how he can like go fast zoom? So when tonal noise is being carried from a facility and it hits a foundation or a house or goes through the ground or hits a metal pole or, hey, a wind turbine that they have out there, it will exacerbate and further attenuate further away the noise. And sometimes if you're by a data center, the tonal noise actually goes further away from the people that are close and it hits more 10 miles that way. That's why when people are putting in setbacks, I'm like, you can't do that because it depends on the siting location, the soil, the environment, what structures, how much water, because it also changes the behavior of water, which we are water, we have blood. That's why tonal noise was used as a military torture technique. These are facts that I've been explaining ad nauseum on Newsmax, on podcasts. I'm already tired of doing it, but I have to do it because if it's not us, then who? And thank you to my colleague, Stephen Petty, for also fighting this elsewhere. But Tammy couldn't even get in a word in edgewise without Bradley Dahl starting to interrupt her. And he wanted to actually, I think it was an attorney for the county or the state. I don't even know his name, but he immediately demanded to know where she got her degree, and does she only have a bachelor's? And what appellate courts has she ever testified in? How many cases has she been attached to? Like grilling her like she's being deposed in a court case, which we deal with that all the time. People try to break us and it doesn't work. These questions were not asked of anyone else because they had a health and safety professional for the benefactor that came out of Canada, the Toronto area. So my point is, he is not asked these questions. Nobody else is asked these questions, which I'm not going to say it's sexist because I don't care if Tammy was a man, they would have done the same thing to Stephen Petty. However, if I was there, she would have had more power. So I apologize for that scheduling conflict, but she can stand on her own. I just don't like that the people in that county, Oliver County, North Dakota, I can't even imagine the messaging that you're getting, which, by the way, is manipulation and lies. This Commissioner Dahl obviously has been completely manipulated by the benefactors because you know when people use key terms to make themselves sound important or that they know something. I listened to him when she got into the whole water issue and making sure that they're not allowed to use the water because hyperscale AI data centers can use up to 1 to 5 million gallons of water a day. That's for the average size hyperscale AI data center. And he talked about how the glycol is an alternative. Yeah, that's still 50% water. So now you're dealing with 500,000 to 2.5 million gallons of water a day. And then he tried to tell her that he put in a rule where they couldn't use the aquifers, water from the aquifers or municipal water. Then where are they getting the water? Because they're going to need water. And even if they're telling you that they're not using water, they're using air as cooling towers. Do you know what that does? It increases the tonal noise. So you're shit out of luck no matter what you do because these data centers are being rolled out. And it's not about quality. It's not about the smaller footprint that we have. Use fractal technology, quantum computing, and edge technologies that are widely known, yet these people are never get a seat at the table. It's very hard for them. Why are they putting these big ass footprints and taking large industrial infrastructure and putting it in residential communities? And they tell themselves, we'll put it in the middle of nowhere. Where middle of nowhere, like my friend Tara in North Dakota has said, is at the farm that these people work on. And you're harming the crops. Yes, tonal noise is impacted by crops. Have you never seen the videos where people used to play like Mozart and classical music to have better outcomes of their plants? It's a real thing. It's called acoustic ecology and bioacoustics. Those of us who are industrial hygienists that deal with sound and hazardous noise is unwanted sound. We understand it's a spectrum. We understand how to measure it, not in dBA, but dBc. That's decibels Charlie, dBz, decibel Zulu, using octave band and third octave band analysis. You cannot find what you're not looking for. Just like if you're looking for a torn ligament or tendon, you don't use an x-ray. We all know you need an MRI. So yeah, don't let them sit there and take an x-ray and tell you that, yeah, your tendon is not torn in your foot. Yeah, it is. You find out in an MRI. So it's deceptive techniques, acting like people are too dumb when the world is at their fingertips. And hell, even ask AI. AI will tell you, ChatGPT, Grok, Cloud, Claude, whatever its name is, DeepSeek, you will find that they will tell you how hazardous hyperscale data centers are and the engineering controls that they could put in place to make it safer. But you know what? These billion-dollar companies don't want to spend the money to do the safer thing, which, by the way, in the workplace is an OSHA citation because we follow something that's an upside-down pyramid called the hierarchy of safety and controls. And if you can't eliminate and substitute the hazard, which is at the top, then you invoke engineering controls. Well, when we're talking about elimination substitution, first of all, we do not need this many data centers, which is what Tammy was trying to explain. It's an inorganic demand pushed by Wall Street and over a $500 billion contract between multiple companies. If they don't get these seeded in time and rolled out so many data centers within a specific agreed on time, there are financial penalties. And that is not our burden to deal with. Pause. And again, worry about quality versus quantity. You can have a device that's this big that can do computing. You can put something the size of a dining room table somewhere, more localized edge technology computing. My little computer nerds, you know what I'm talking about, fractal technology. This is so infuriating watching Robert. Sorry, I'm thinking of Robert's rules because of the amount of violations I see in these commissioner meetings with the Open Meetings Act. But anyway, that's a different live. But Bradley Dahl is somebody that you need to vote out. And I actually think that if you live in North Dakota, you should write a letter to the chair of that commission, write a letter to the state representative that covers that district, and then write a letter to the speaker of the House in that state, and then in charge of the state Senate. Why? Because he needs to be censured. Will it do much? No, but it's a slap on the wrist explaining how dare you disrespect somebody who is there, who's not being paid to be there, someone who is there to educate the community members because no one is there to protect them. OSHA and EPA are designed to protect people in a workplace for 8 hours. Again, who's protecting you in the environment? Because we learned during COVID, the public health department sure as hell don't know what they're doing when they were pushing out masks. Okay. As an industrial hygienist, I donated my time along with Tammy to educate those county health officers who ignored us. Joke's on you because you could have believed us then or remember us now because we were right. So engineering controls are key. And Tammy was just trying to convey that these are the criteria you should put into place. Like she didn't even get to explain that you put in a decommissioning escrow because these are being abandoned. They don't care. And this guy couldn't understand why would they spend billions of dollars on rolling out these data centers if they're just going to go defunct? Because it's a bubble and they don't give a shit about they get bailouts. These companies get bailouts, they get grants, they get stipends. They care more about executing the contract versus the outcome. It's like a pyramid scheme. It's so fucking frustrating watching someone who wasn't even elected, he was seated, go in there and overturn 180-day pause on the data centers. Somebody who acted like, well, I want to go back my ADHD brain when I forgot to tell you, when he brought up, people that use keywords to make themselves smart, he said, there's closed loop and then there's blockchain. Well, we all know what blockchain is. It's what the crypto world utilizes to compute transactions. Okay, I know this. I did Bitcoin mining. He's talking about a totally different phrase tied into closed loop. What this man said about blockchain versus closed loop is you're talking about a technology that's invisible to an actual coolant system in a giant infrastructure. Does that I don't even know what to compare it to because it's that retarded. So this man actually, I think it's called like Dunning-Kruger. He totally talked out of his ass. He didn't know what he was saying. And it's so, I was screaming through my phone. You can go watch the feed. If you go on Facebook and go to Oliver County Commissioners meeting, that was today, June 4th, and you just toggle towards the end, you'll see a woman in I think it's a polka dot shirt and a red blazer with blonde hair, pulled back glasses. That's my colleague, my work wife, Tammy Clark. I can't believe she was able to put up with with the condescending demeanor that was levied her way. She said they asked her what her agenda was. These are intimidation techniques that are used in court during cross-examination or depositions. It's not our first rodeo, but this is totally, totally uncalled for in a commissioner's meeting at the local level, where she's not being hired to be there. She's not entering into the record as a paid expert witness. She's just an expert that came in to help friends, and she disclosed that in the beginning. She's not paid. We don't have a fee. We don't not like, hey, $5,000. We can charge $3,000 a day for expert witness testimony. For the past few years, we didn't because people can't afford it. We have to help the every average day American, regardless of party affiliation. But these are the people at the local level. A little county commissioner who wasn't even voted in, who was appointed, is deciding to ruin the ecology and ruin the financial valuation of homes and businesses in the area, all to put in a hyperscale AI data center that's not needed and will be abandoned in probably 10 years, maybe sooner, because they're already talking about putting way smaller, like something the size of a dining room table in outer space. Elon Musk is talking about it. Again, the fractal edge technology. This is all real. You pause and you look at how can we do this best? This is a false inorganic race with China. Okay, if we have to beat China, China only has like over 400. We have over 400 in just Virginia, okay? They've already won the race because they've been doing mass surveillance way before AI. Also, if China is someone that we have to beat, why in the hell do we send our beef, speaking of ranchers, all the way over to China so they can fill it with bullshit and send it back to us? So is China our ally or are they someone that we need to worry about? I guess it just depends on what day the government's talking. My whole point of this live is to not only come here and defend my work wife, my work colleague, Tammy Clark, but it's to show you how absolutely fraudulent that Bradley Dahl is, a county commissioner in Oliver County, North Dakota. I will put the link. Bear with me for just a second, you guys, while I'm on live. I'm actually going to link. I am going to link the meeting into the chat on Facebook or in the comments. So let's see. Here's the meeting. I think it's still going on. Let's see. Copy link and putting that right in the comments. Here you go, guys and gals. There's the link. Let me tell you. Well, just toggle towards the end of the meeting. Like I said, you'll see a woman in a red blazer. It's very, very, very troublesome to see somebody who doesn't know their head from their asshole shut her down when she explained when people are asked to be busted into these data centers, they sometimes turn off the fans and some of the industrial equipment so that they don't notice the audible noise. And he said, that's not true. They knew I was coming. Bro, the moment you pulled into the parking lot, they could have switched something off. But again, it's the noise you feel, not the noise you hear. They prey on your ignorance. So what this Bradley Dahl did is just out himself as somebody that is so ignorant and unintelligent on this issue that he tried to go toe to toe with someone who has actually been speaking in front of government bodies and communities now for a while on this issue with me. I'm just like, I'm so taken aback I saw how they treated my colleague. How in the hell do they think they treat the people there? The people actually in Oliver County. You guys, I don't even know how you tolerate being talked to this way. It's not like we don't deal with like bold personalities, but the problem is these people don't know what they're talking about. They're getting false information from the developers and they believe it. And that's insane. You always trust then verify, and there's no verify in the situation. And Tammy comes in and she's the verification and they don't want to hear it. Go watch the end of this video. It's going to piss you off because then you have that state's attorney again that asked about Tammy, her degree, where she's testified. And she clearly said, my colleague and I went all the way to the Supreme Court and defeated OSHA trying to put in a permanent standard regarding masking. If you farted sideways, mask mandate. The emergency temporary standard they were trying to make permanent. Yeah, we put a brief in on that case to the Supreme Court. You're welcome. Didn't charge a dime. But usually when you're explaining your court credentials and what you've done, you will, like when you have a degree, you say, I have a master's. You don't say, I have an associate's, I have a bachelor's. You always list the highest thing. So when she says, I was on a SCOTUS case and we won, what more do you need, sir? You're at the county level, bro. You're at the county level. I don't care if you're a state's attorney or a county attorney. What is your agenda? Is that to bring in tax revenue? Because let me tell you, bud, those ROIs are false. The jobs that they promise come in during destruction, and then the dust that is thrown around and gets into filters, all the PM 2.5, the particulate matter from the dioxins on the diesel generators at the size of a shipping container, and sometimes there's hundreds of them at a data center. Yeah, no problem. So we have no safeguards in place, you guys, for these data centers, and this guy ignored it. Sometimes I feel like Tammy and I are Chicken Little and we're telling you the sky is falling. And then when it falls, it's already fallen. We have people here in Michigan that are doing a class action lawsuit, which I don't support class actions. I think they're stupid. You need to do mass tort claims because you remove other people's private right of action. And the only people that get rich off class action lawsuits are the attorneys. Okay. We already have people who are having windows cracked, people that are feeling depressed. Children, they're having developmental issues with their brain as far as their thought process, concentration. RFK talked about this with Senator Hawley. Yes, this is a known thing. I'm reading a comment real quick. Okay, I'll check those out in a bit. I don't even know how much longer I should talk to you guys other than go watch the last like 10 minutes of this meeting. I don't know if it's still going on because they had a health and safety professional that they pulled in from Canada that works for the other team to try to discredit my colleague. Absolutely insane. Absolutely insane, guys. I know that Tammy's probably just going to go have a glass of wine and roll her eyes on this because we've dealt with it all. But what makes us mad about this is that this affects every person in the community and everyone else that's near a data center. There's no safe setbacks. These are hyperscale data centers. And let me just leave you with this. This is what she was trying to convey, which she didn't have time for because she kept being rudely called out and they tried to trip her up, but she knows her shit. So just so you know, tonal noise, again, it's very hazardous. And tonal noise is noise you feel, not that you see. And all of the studies involving tonal noise have yet to be done on a 24/7 exposure. All the science we have on the dioxins exposure, the noise, the light pollution of the illumination, those actually have health impacts. Those are all based on 8-hour time weighted averages from studies that apply to the workplace. But I'm just going to say again, where's the guidance for people in their home? See, when something is carcinogenic or flammable in the workplace, it's still carcinogenic and flammable at your house. Okay? I am asking you, if you're in North Dakota, you guys need to work together. You need to work together to get this man censured. I don't even know what side of the aisle he's on, but I don't even think it matters. He is no place being in any form of government with that type of behavior toward an expert. Not to mention, it's not even just how she was talked to, it's what she's trying to tell these people. She's trying to tell them, hey, we have people being harmed. We have children having suicidal ideation. Yes, tonal noise can cause suicidal ideation and suicide. Look at the suicidal rate of overhead linemen in the utility fields. That one will get your gears grinded when you see that. Yeah, this man is just a pile of feces, to be frank. Yeah, Bradley Dahl. Yeah, seriously. You would not ever stand a moment with me in a debate. I'm welcoming to an open debate. We'll bring Tammy, we'll bring Stephen Petty, we'll bring the GOAT of our profession. Let's go. Let's have a debate. Since you actually want to compare a blockchain, a technology that doesn't exist, like that you can see, it's like saying Wi-Fi. Like, you don't see Wi-Fi. The blockchain is how you send and receive Bitcoin. It's how it's computed. That's why there's Bitcoin mining. This guy, he showed his hand when he said that. And I realized that a lot of people didn't realize that because maybe they don't know about crypto mining or they don't work in our field. But he was comparing apples to fucking staircases, not even another fruit. So I linked the meeting for some reason. It went to, I'm going to go to my own live video. Stand with me. If you guys get feedback, I'm so sorry. But when you're using StreamYard to go to multiple platforms, it only puts the comment in YouTube. So I'm going to put this in the comments on Facebook. You guys can go look. It's going to really, really piss you off. So make sure you spam those comments. Yeah, I'm telling you to spam. Spam the truth. Tell the truth. Okay? Don't threaten this guy. Don't be mean. Don't violate laws. I just want you guys to peacefully and administratively let this Commissioner Dahl know and let the commissioners know they really missed out on hearing from somebody who didn't profit off telling the truth. Meanwhile, I guarantee you the guy that flew in from Toronto is being compensated. Hey, someone might buy Tammy dinner, but like I said, that's not going to pay her car payment. That's not going to pay her mortgage. All right, so let me see if there's any pressing issues. You guys, just so you know, I have so many interviews out there on this issue. If you just go to my Facebook, and it's okay if my other posts offend you or are spicy. Who cares? I don't care if you're a Democrat. I don't care if you're a super progressive Democrat. I don't care if you're Republican, Libertarian, or anti-government. Like, I don't care. Put it aside. We're human and we all need to care about our health and safety in our homes. This is unacceptable. It's unacceptable that these things are taking over. I feel like this is dragnet. I feel like, and this is all about mass surveillance. Look at the World Economic Forum. Look at Agenda 2030. This is all a plan that has been in place for a long time. And you know what's an interesting factoid I dropped today on the Conservative Review with Daniel Horowitz is that you would think that when people vote to stop these things, that it's the developers that are suing the government. Well, sometimes it's the electrical companies because they stand a profit and it's dirty and there's a conflict of interest. It's maddening. This to me is worse than the COVID issue because at least with that tyranny, it was temporary. This is something that will stay there. And even if they abandon these data centers, who's going to decommission it? Who's going to restore the soil that's been compacted by this giant footprint? If you're a farmer, please, if you know a farmer, you're near a farmer, go sound the alarm, be Chicken Little, let them know, hey, they're going to come to you, promise you millions of dollars, promise you an ROI, return of investment, if they lease a certain section of your property. Don't do it. Don't do it. And don't do it. These are the companies that are going to get a bailout when this technology is already ancient because, again, they moved to edge technology or put them in ocean cooling underwater, immersion cooling. There's other ways to do this and better, but it's a rush, and it's a rush that cuts corners. And guess who bears the burden of these cuts? We, the people. But guess who outnumbers the sociopaths? We, the people. Administratively and peacefully stand up to this. We're working on a resource guide. Share the interviews out there. Look at the information, everything I'm telling you. You can go into AI and ask, what are the human and environmental impacts of these hyperscale AI data centers? And you will see, dig into tonal noise studies. There are lots of studies on what tonal noise does to the human body and to animals, but there are no studies on 24/7 continuous exposure without any work rest cycles. But interestingly enough, as I close this out, who has engineering controls in place? The people working in the data centers, all 7 to 10 of them. Their offices are padded with material that helps deflect the tonal noise, but do they do that for you? No, they just put the concrete slabs on the ground, don't use springs, don't use foam. And he tried to actually, Commissioner Dahl tried to talk to Tammy and catch her in an oral flop, which she didn't have. She was explaining how they put them on cement and tonal noise goes right through cement. In fact, it exacerbates it. And he talked about dense, non-thick, fully thick walls. And there's technology, there's engineering controls that has like a form of a foam or a gel, airspace in between foam and gel. But here's the problem. They don't want to do that. It's too expensive. That's what I'm trying to tell you. OSHA would say they don't care in the workplace. Nobody gives a shit if you don't want to, when your worker is sanding, give them a HEPA vac that has encapsulation capture of the particulates. It's more expensive than just putting hose capture ventilation. But guess what? It's needed. OSHA doesn't give a shit if you don't want to pay for it. But who's calling these people out in the private sector, communities? Us. You can find everything I just said and fact check it. You'll find out I'm right. And you'll probably even be more worried when you dig into the tonal noise. But you are not being represented. People in Oliver County, North Dakota, you are not being represented by your commission body. You guys should work on recalling these individuals based on this incident alone is reason enough to recall, especially Robert Dahl. I will donate to it if somebody does it. I will pay for the damn petitions myself. I am in this fight to save human health. And if you're growing crops and you're growing food, like I said, the bioacoustics, acoustic ecology, 24/7, no break. This is asinine. This is egregious, and people need to wake up, stand together again, peacefully and administratively.